Welcome everyone to an episode of Izen in the Dark. What we're talking about today is the speculated news of the more importance of Mythic Plus, especially at the start of the season in Midnight. That's because something curious happened with the latest build of the Midnight beta, which is this thing right here. You go on, you complete a Mythic Plus key, and then you go home. And then you open up your useless, of course, page of your Mythic Plus dungeons completed. You open up the pop-up of your vault, and what you see inside is that you have completed a Mythic Plus key, and that's the reward you get in the Great Vault. Now, what's curious about this is that, for example, as we are right now in Mythic Plus in the War Within, you complete a plus 10. You get the highest item level available, and then you can go all the way up to plus 12 in order to get the max amount of crests, right? Now, in here, as you can see, the plus 12 is awarding you with 276 item level. Now, it's a bit confusing, of course, because we are getting squished. We're getting squished in item level, as well as numbers all over the place, but just so you know, plus 10 in Mythic Plus is the equivalent of Myth Track 1 out of 6 and 272 item level. A plus 12, as is seen here, is the equivalent of a 276 item level piece at Myth Track 2 out of 6. And this is currently the essentially speculated bit of news, because Blizzard themselves did not come up with the Blue Notes announcements of the change. It's just visible in-game that the Great Vault doesn't just stop at plus 10 in Midnight. The Great Vault goes to 10 and 11, still at 272 Myth Track 1 out of 6, and then goes plus 12, plus 13, and plus 14 will become Myth Track 2 out of 6, and then plus 15, 16, and plus 17 will become Myth Track 3 out of 6, and finally, the only one, the plus 18, is a 282 item level Myth Track 4 out of 6. So, for now, this would be the change compared to live, compared to the War Within. You're getting an extra, essentially 7 key levels worth of possible item level progression for your Great Vault coming from Mythic Plus. Now, obviously, all of these item levels are already available in the Great Vault if you are Mythic raiding, right? You're killing bosses, and then the item level progresses. The higher you go in the raids, the deeper, the later down the bosses, of course. But in Mythic Plus, it was stuck at Myth Track 1 out of 6. Now, with this change, of course, it puts a significantly higher importance in doing higher level Mythic Plus keys early on in the season. Yes, technically, this doesn't change the level of gear you get from Mythic Plus. It is still Myth Track gear from the Great Vault. It's the same as it is now, and it's the same as it was before. It just changes the track level, but it's still one Myth Track piece per week. It also doesn't change, of course, how often you get it, and it doesn't change the fact that Mythic Plus itself, the end of dungeon cache, doesn't give you any piece of gear. But it does now give you a significantly higher discount of crests. That's the second point worth pointing out to everyone who hasn't kept track with the significant changes of crest upgrades in Midnight. It's no longer 15 crests needed per upgrade. Now they go up by 10 per level that you were upgrading your piece of gear from. So Myth Track 1 out of 6 costs 10 to upgrade to 2 out of 6, and then 2 out of 6 costs 20, 3 out of 6 costs 30, 4 out of 6 costs 40, and you guessed it, 5 out of 6 Myth Track will cost 50 to upgrade fully to 6 out of 6. These costs are the same even at Champion Track, at Veteran Track, at Hero Track. It's still 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. It's no longer 15, 15, 15, 15. Which means that now, compared to the War Within, it doesn't cost you 75 crests to upgrade a piece of gear from 1 out of 6 to 6 out of 6, it costs you 150. This puts much more value in you upgrading multiple pieces in the first 1 to 2 to 3 levels, because they are still only costing 10, 20, 30. And it will make it, of course, much less valuable for you to upgrade the pieces in the last 2 upgrade tracks, because they will cost an enormous amount. So it will put much more value in you being able to loot multiple pieces, so you can upgrade them at 1 to 3, rather than looting fewer pieces, even if they are at higher level. Even if they are, for example, mid-track instead of hero track, at least if you have multiple pieces you can upgrade them more, because they cost less in the first 1 to 3 tracks. Now, what this change makes it even more important for is that now that you have this idea, at the very least, because it's not confirmed by Blizzard, this idea that doing a plus 18 gives you a mid-track 4 out of 6 instead of 1 out of 6 effectively means you are saving every week 60 crests. Because if instead of getting a mid-track 1 out of 6, you already get one that is at 4 out of 6, so you are saving the 10, 20, and 30 crests you would have had to spend to upgrade the item to 4 out of 6, you are saving 60 crests per week. And as we have just seen, with the prices of the upgrades becoming so much more costly in Midnight, getting an extra 60 per week is massive. We have got a massive a massive buff from 90 weekly crest cap to 100 weekly crest cap. So if you're able to push your Mythic Plus keys up to plus 18, instead of getting 100 crests per week, you're getting 100 crests plus a 60 crest free discount on your Great Vault for Mythic Plus. Now this is worth noting 2 different things. It will have less value for Mythic Raiders that can still get their Great Vault with mid-track Raider gear, first of all. And second of all, this possible upgrade, this possible benefit is still based on the hopes that you still find something usable from the Great Vault. Because if it's not usable, you have almost wasted those free 60 crest upgrades on the piece. You can see it in a glass half full way, in the sense that now, in case you do finally now loot a piece of mid-track 1 out of 6 in that slot, the Great Vault piece has already upgraded it to 4 out of 6, so now your actual item will get discounted up to 4 out of 6, but you even have to get that item later on, so it's not that positive. This then puts the second question, which is, okay, fine, I don't care, just tell me how hard getting to plus 18s is going to be, right? Not that complicated. If the keys now give you rewards all the way up to plus 18, this will be the next stop, the next weekly goal for players, right? To get to plus 18. So right now, in the beta, most players are getting stuck, rushing and pushing, getting close to plus 18s, kind of, but they are still quite difficult. And at the moment, the item level is being scaled down to 276 when you enter Mythic Plus in the beta. Please know that once Mythic Plus will open and the raid will be open as well, the gear you will be at will be around 245. Because 246 is the champion track 1 out of 6, which is what you will be getting from Mythic 0, base Mythic stuff that you will get to farm for a couple of weeks basically, and the normal raid gear. So as you enter Mythic Plus, you will be in the 245, 250-ish range in week 1. You will of course then boost yourself up with crafted gear, heroic raid level gear, and Mythic Plus hero track gear itself, which will push you in the 255, close to 260. But we're still talking about easily talking about 15 plus item levels below what is being tested right now in the beta. Also, don't forget, in the beta at the moment, you all have your tier set, week 1, which possibly is not going to happen for many players, and you all have your best in slot of choice trinkets that you get to pick, which you will most certainly not have in week 1 of the season. So in short, what I'm trying to say is there is about a 0.14% chance that the majority of the player base will get to do plus 18s in week 1. Even in week 2, they will still be significantly challenging for still the majority of the player base. As things stands, you know, considering the challenge level just by looking at groups now, at that item level, still struggling at in a plus 18. Plus 18s are not meant to be easy, are not meant to be weekly farmed, essentially. At the very least at the moment, based on the difficulty level, you won't be ending Season 1 at a point where plus 18s, where this end level mid-track reward comes from Mythic Plus, will be anywhere close being comfortably farmable as a weekly key by the majority of the player base. That's the point. Even in this Season 1 of the War Within, for example, the top level keys got to plus 20. Like title earning keys in Season 1 got to like 18, 19, 20, so it's still gonna be quite a challenging one in Midnight to get there. So it's not gonna be something you can think of just casually getting there within a couple of weeks, most of the player base. Right now, they're gonna be somewhat doable, but considering how tuned they are, or at the very least, the item level Blizzard is putting your character to be testing Mythic Plus right now, which is 276. 276 is essentially the in between hero track 5 out of 6, 6 out of 6, and mid track 1 out of 6, 2 out of 6. So the very early level of Mythic raiding basically is where you're testing your item level, and going through 17s, 18s right now in the beta is very challenging. So I can't imagine this being an easily farmable level for the majority of the player base. So it is still a benefit for many players to try to get to at the release of the season, because you're still, as mentioned, getting a 60 crest weekly discount. Considering you get a 100 weekly crest cap, getting 60 for free, potentially, if your vault item is usable, is a very good discount, is a very big discount for you to gun for. I think it's positive, because it still now gives something for Mythic Plus players to aim for. This big significant discount at plus 18. We have very often complained that in Mythic Plus there are no incentives to go higher than a certain level, which is too low. That has often been the complaint. Getting to 3k, getting to Keystone Hero or Master or Legend, those achievements, whatever, are still too low. Especially deeper down the season, they become too simple. The weekly 10s, even the weekly 12s for the 20 gilded crests of right now is still far too low of a level, right? That has been often a complaint in Mythic Plus. This will be able to give you something to look towards in Mythic Plus, because as mentioned, of course, big asterisks right now with the tuning of right now, with the item level we have right now and everything that is happening in the beta right now, plus 18s won't be easily weekly farmable by the majority of the player base. They will require effort and challenge for the majority of the player base to get there, so the discount you will get on the Great Vault getting to 4 out of 6 mid-track from Mythic Plus is not going to be a given. It's not going to be nearly as simple and expected of a given as getting to do a weekly 10 or a weekly 12 right now, for example, in this season. So we have most players, the Mythic Plus, for example, only players do now have something to aim to get towards, at the very least for now, in the beginning of the season in Midnight. We will see, of course, if this is confirmed by Blizzard, if this will change, if Blizzard will nerf Mythic Plus to the point where the end season keys will be plus 27s and plus 28s like it was back in Dragonflight, so getting to an 18 is much more doable, or if they will stay as challenging as they are now, so that getting to plus 18 will be much more difficult. We will see how it will go, but for now this is the change visible from the beta purely by inspecting what shows up in the Great Vault as a reward, showing us that now Mythic Plus rewards go all the way up to plus 18. So with this on the beginning of our week on Monday, it is now time to leave each other. We're starting our goodbyes by thanking everyone for having watched the video, together with, of course, everyone else who's been supporting completely for free by liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. Now, with this thing out of the way, thank you guys again for watching, see you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime, it's Monday here already. Technically, it's 2 AM, but we are still legally inside of Monday, so all good.